Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Robert. So Robert says, Dear Amy, I've always heard that thought creates feeling. Is this true? There are many times when I feel something like anxiety, nervousness, or dread, and there are no identifiable thoughts. Does that mean that the thoughts creating those feelings are beyond conscious awareness? Okay, so thank you, Robert, for sending this question. It's so interesting. I think like all of any question anyone has, there's different ways we can look at this. We can speak to these things from different perspectives. So on the one hand, it looks like there is a world full of independent objects. And if that's the case, and stuff happening where these objects interact and things happen, like a thought and a feeling, there's some interaction there, there's some cause and effect there. So from that perspective, where it looks like there's a world of objects that are interacting and causing and affecting and all of that, there could be some answers kind of at that level. So like just psychologically speaking, I don't know. I really don't know if thought creates feeling, but I can see why that appears to be the case often, because I think that's kind of what we've been taught to look for. It sure feels like we become aware of the thought, and then kind of along with that, or maybe right afterward, what feels like right afterward, there's a feeling. You can think, oh no, I forgot to pay that bill, or I missed that appointment, and suddenly you feel something. So you can see why we would kind of draw that conclusion, why that really looks to be the case. Now, I don't know that there's an actual causal relationship there at all, and I don't know that any of us do. I think that's just kind of a conclusion that comes from our theories about there being separate objects that act upon each other, and our experience, where it sure feels like I think something, I feel something. Now, from that psychological perspective, though, there's also a lot of evidence on the flip side that, if you want to say it this way, feelings create thoughts in a sense, in that there's sensation, there's stuff, body-mind stuff going on. And there's this left brain interpreter that comes in that tries to make sense of everything. So I wrote about this quite a bit in Just a Thought. Like, there's just, like, we can measure, body reactions. Maybe you want to call those preferences, movements towards something, something that looks neurologically like a decision being made, or some kind of endpoint, and then a thought coming in and saying, oh, I chose that. And the thought comes in after the fact. Or there's just some sensation and a mind scrambling to make sense of everything, which is what minds do. So it comes in and says, oh, here's what I'm feeling and here's why. Now, I can't go into all the research here, but there's not necessarily a lot of accuracy to that at all. Like a mind will just come up with an explanation for sensation all the time. So there's kind of some science on either side of things. Thoughts may be creating feelings, feelings creating thoughts. Again, I don't know, because you kind of look at those results, you kind of look at that, and you can see how it can be interpreted that way from a certain perspective. And really the big perspective is that there are separate things out here in the world that can have some effect on each other. Now, from another perspective, that's kind of in that relative world of thought we live in. From another perspective, I don't know that there are separate objects. And if there aren't separate objects, then what could cause or affect what? Like, where are those relationships? Relationship depends on separation. So it also kind of seems like the brain creates the perception of separation and makes it look as if there are separate objects. And if that's going on, and that's the perspective from which we're living and seeing things, and it looks like things are also happening, there's objects in the world and there's a lot of events and things happening, of course the mind is going to draw some causal conclusions about those things. Does that mean that's actually what's going on? No, I don't know. It doesn't have to mean that. I mean, I don't know what's actually going on, but it doesn't have to mean that. So it could also be that the world looks a certain way, right? And that the mind is really good at trying to help us make sense of the world looking that certain way, but that's just what the mind does. It's what the brain does. And that actually isn't how it truly necessarily is. It is how it is from that perspective, but it maybe isn't how it is in a more absolute way. So per usual, I don't know. I don't know what causes what. I don't know the answer to your question, Robert. But here's what I think is really important here and really interesting is, does it matter? Like, why does it matter if thoughts create feelings or feelings create thoughts? Doesn't matter. And look for yourself, and all of us can look for ourselves and see, like, what's behind this? Why do I think I need to know this or figure this out? Usually when it's something like that, what's causing what here, there's something that's wanting to be controlled. If we can figure out what causes what and how it's all working, then we can pull some lever over here and make something over there be different. I mean, that's really what's behind probably most of these questions. I think that wanting to control and give ourselves a certain experience is what's behind probably almost all thought identification, really. Maybe not. I mean, there's obviously some very old conditioning and stuff there, but why would we continue to go up to thinking and listen to it and depend upon it, and when we see over and over and over again how wrong it often is? Now, we also see over and over again how right it often is, because at least that's how it looks, because the mind is very good at proving its points and finding evidence for what you believe, for its own beliefs. So we see it on both sides. But again, we can't deny that, our mind is flip-flopping all the time, and there's so much inconsistency, and there's so much that doesn't make sense. And yet we continue to rely on that. And I think part of that is kind of what's behind this question, is that it gives this sense of, okay, there's something real here. There's some certainty here. And if I can figure it out and nail it down and know what causes what, I can just, pull the right levers, and I'm going to have a lot more of the nice experiences and a lot fewer of the experiences I don't want. So see if that's behind it. Like, is there this sense of wanting to control things? And what if that's just a sense too? Like, what even is that? What if that's just something that's arising? That sense of there's a me and I'm not okay and I need to control things in life. Look into that. What even is that? What even is it? I know it feels so real, but is it? Like, really get curious there. What if we don't need to know how anything works? Because honestly, I don't think we do, and I don't know that we ever will. But what if that's where freedom is I don't know what causes what. I just know all of this stuff sure appears to be showing up, and then it appears to be taken away just as quickly. It shows up, it dissolves. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it goes when it leaves. But maybe there's something in that that's way better, really, than having the cause and effect model kind of mapped out. And I want to say, that it's awesome to be curious. I have so much curiosity for, like, what is this and how is life working? And that's great. And Robert, I suspect your question is really coming from a real, genuine curiosity too. And for me, for sure, and I'm guessing for everyone, there's a point sometimes when that curiosity, when it looks like we need something, the joy of being curious is not there in the same way. And it's like, no, there's something here I need to know, because, so be curious about what comes after that, because for you, because that's maybe where there's something kind of interesting to see. So I hope my non-answer is helpful in some way, Robert. Thank you for sending your question, and you guys can send your questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I'll see you back here next week. Have a great week, everyone.